Every week, gardeners across the world pull weeds, trim plants, and rake grass clippings into bin bags, destroying, for free, the raw material of the most powerful biological fertilizer ever documented. They then drive to the garden center and spend $30 on a bottle of something that cannot do what they just threw away. In 1960, a Korean farmer named Han Kyu-cho refused to do either. He let the weeds ferment in a bucket. What came out of that bucket would go on to feed his land without a single purchased input for the rest of his life. And when Western agricultural institutions finally encountered his results decades later, they buried them. Not because they were wrong, because they were free. Stay to the end. The application method almost nobody outside Korea has heard of is the one that changes everything. To understand why this was buried, you first need to see what it was replacing and why that replacement was worth protecting. Walk into any garden center and count the fertilizer products. Dozens of them, each one promising to solve a different deficiency, each one engineered to run out, break down, or stop working, requiring repurchase every season, every year, indefinitely. What that shelf will never tell you is this: every bag of synthetic fertilizer feeds the plant and abandons the soil. The nutrients go in, the plant takes what it needs, the rest leaches away. The soil biology, the bacteria, the fungi, the living networks that make ground fertile on its own starves. Gets quieter, dies back. And next season, the soil needs more input to produce the same result because there is less life left in it to do the work. This is not a side effect. It is the model. A garden that depends on purchased fertility keeps purchasing. A garden with living soil does not. That distinction is worth $200 billion a year to the industry that built it. And it is the reason that what Han Kyu-cho spent 60 years proving has still not made it into a single Western gardening curriculum. So who was Han Kyu-cho, and why did the people who should have been most interested in his work spend decades making sure you never heard of him? Han Kyu-cho did not set out to be a revolutionary. He set out to farm. In the 1960s in South Korea, synthetic fertilizers were being promoted aggressively across Asia, foreign aid, government subsidies, agricultural extension agents arriving at farms with bags of chemical nitrogen and instructions to modernize. Most farmers complied. The yields went up in the short term. Nobody asked what was happening to the soil. Cho asked. He watched his neighbors' fields. He watched the earthworms disappear. He watched the ground get harder, the yields flatten, the dependence on inputs compound year after year. And he went in the opposite direction. He began documenting the fermentation practices that Korean farmers had used for generations before the chemical era arrived. Wild plant extracts, fermented inputs made from local materials, preparations that activated the soil's own biological systems rather than replacing them. Extension agents visited his farm and told him he was farming backwards. Agricultural officials reviewed his methods and recommended he modernize. He kept records. He kept fermenting. He kept harvesting from soil that his neighbors said could not produce without chemical inputs, and producing more than they did. Decades of field data followed across farms of every size, soil type, and climate condition. Documented yield increases of 20 to 40% over unfertilized controls. Soil health metrics improving season over season. Farms that had become dependent on synthetic inputs recovering their biological activity within 2 to 3 years of switching to fermented preparations. His work attracted researchers from across Asia. It did not attract the Western agricultural establishment. There was nothing in it to fund, nothing to patent, nothing to sell. A simplified version of his system called JADAM, meaning people who become like nature, was later developed to make the preparations accessible to any gardener with a bucket and 2 weeks of patience. Picture what that looks like in practice. It is October. Every bed on the street has been pulled. Neighbors are clearing spent plants and bagging roots. One garden is still producing. Tomatoes heavy on the vine, dark green leaves with no yellowing, soil beneath the surface dark and loose and smelling of something alive, no bottles on the shelf, no bags in the shed, just a bucket that costs nothing to fill, applied every 10 days through the season. That garden is running on biology. The rest are running on a supply chain. Here is what is actually inside the bucket, because once you understand the biology, what it produces stops being surprising and starts being obvious. Picture a tablespoon of soil from the floor of an old-growth forest. Dark, loose, almost black. It smells of earth and rain and something older than both. In that single tablespoon live more microorganisms than there are people on the planet. They are breaking down organic matter without being asked, moving minerals without being directed, feeding plant roots through fungal networks that extend for miles underground, connecting trees to each other across distances no root could reach alone. The forest does not need fertilizer. Because the forest is the fertilizer, every fallen leaf, every dead branch, every weed that grows and dies at the edge of the path is part of a biological system so efficient it has been running without interruption for 300 million years. What JADAM fermentation does is replicate that density deliberately, from scratch, using nothing but the plant material already growing and dying in your own garden. The moment chopped green matter meets water, aerobic bacteria begin dismantling plant tissue. Small bubbles, the liquid turning from green to amber, a faint earthy smell rising. By day 4 to 7, the oxygen is gone. The environment goes anaerobic. Lactic acid bacteria, the same family that ferments kimchi, yogurt, and sourdough across every traditional culture on Earth, take over. They drive the pH down to between 3.5 and 4.5. Pathogenic bacteria cannot survive that acidity. Beneficial bacteria thrive. By day 10 to 14, the liquid is dark amber. The sediment at the bottom is thick with fungal mycelium. The clear liquid above it holds between 100 million and 1 billion microorganisms per milliliter. 1 billion. Not in the whole bucket, in every single milliliter. That is not fertilizer. That is forest floor biology, grown in a bucket, ready to rebuild the system that synthetic inputs have been quietly dismantling for years. Now, here is exactly how to build it. 4 steps. Everything you need is already in your garden. You need a non-metal container between 5 and 20 liters, water, and green plant material. Nothing else. No equipment. No purchases. Collect everything green. Weeds from the bed, use them. Fresh grass clippings. Kitchen scraps from fruit and vegetables. Plant stems and trimmings. The more diverse the material, the more diverse the microbial community that will emerge. Variety is not optional. It is the mechanism. Fill roughly 1/10 of your container by weight, approximately 1 kilogram of plant material, and top it to the brim with water. Chop the material before it goes in. Finally, this is the step almost everyone skips. It is also the one that most determines the outcome. Finer material exposes more surface area to bacterial colonization. More surface area means faster fermentation, higher microbial density, a more potent end product. A pair of scissors, a quick knife, stomping on the pile before it goes in, any of it works. 2 extra minutes here will cut days from your fermentation time. Set the container in shade outdoors and cover with a loose lid, not airtight, not for the first week. The aerobic phase produces carbon dioxide. A sealed container builds pressure. A loose lid lets the gas escape while keeping debris out. In warm conditions, 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, the ferment reaches peak microbial population in 7 to 10 days. In cooler conditions, 14 to 21 days. You will know it is ready when the liquid is dark amber and smells powerfully earthy, not rotten. Earthy. That distinction matters. Rotten means something went wrong. Earthy means the lactic acid bacteria have won. Stir it once, strain it through a cloth, the solids go to the compost, the liquid is what you keep. Dilute 1 part ferment to 50 to 100 parts water. A single 10-liter batch produces 500 to 1,000 liters of spray-ready solution. A full season supply for a substantial garden, from garden waste, in 2 weeks, for nothing. Apply as a foliar spray in the early morning between 6 and 8, or in the late evening. Never in direct midday sunlight. UV kills the microorganisms on contact before they can reach the leaf surface. Spray until the leaves are wet but not dripping, focusing on the undersides where stomatal absorption is highest. Every 7 to 10 days through the active growing season. For a soil drench, 1 to 2 liters per mature plant every 14 days. The foliar spray shows visible results in 1 to 2 weeks. The soil drench takes longer but builds a biological community that compounds with every application. Use the ferment within 8 weeks. After that, the microbial population declines. Make a fresh batch. One warning. Do not apply before day 5. The early aerobic phase has not yet produced the acidity that eliminates pathogens. And never mix it with chemical pesticides. Those compounds do not distinguish between harmful and beneficial microbes. They kill everything, including the 2 weeks of biology you just grew. That warning exists because the industry that sells those pesticides spent decades making sure you would reach for them first and never learn that what you just built in a bucket renders them unnecessary. By the time Han Q Cho's field data was worth examining, the synthetic fertilizer industry had already rewritten the conversation. Agricultural journals narrowed their definition of credible science. University departments tied to chemical company funding steered researchers away from topics that could not produce a patentable product. Extension agents were trained exclusively on synthetic input systems and had no curriculum for fermented preparations that cost nothing. When Korean natural farming researchers submitted findings to Western agricultural publications in the 1980s and 90s, the work was returned without review. The editor's standard rejection: insufficient controls, non-standard methodology, results not replicable under Western conditions. The bar moved every time the science got close. Editors and academics drew a line in the soil. Research that could not generate licensing revenue was not research worth funding. Columns in agricultural publications began treating fermentation-based farming as folk practice rather than science. Universities pressed for industry partnerships and, wary of ridicule, closed their doors to trials that would not produce a commercial product at the end. And so a 60-year body of field data documented yield increases and recovering soil health metrics sat in Korean language publications, while Western gardeners spent $40 a season on bottles of something far less effective. A garden running entirely on JADAM ferments does not purchase fungicides, does not buy soil inoculants, foliar sprays, or biological activators. Each of those is a product line that ceases to exist the moment the soil biology functions correctly. $200 billion of annual industry revenue depends on that biology never quite working well enough on its own. The ground remembers what it knew before the chemical era arrived. It is still capable of it. It just needs someone to give it back the biology it lost. A retired teacher in Oregon built her first JADAM system 3 seasons ago from a 5-gallon bucket and the weeds she pulled from her tomato bed. She set it in the shade behind her shed, left it for 2 weeks, strained it through an old pillowcase, diluted it in a watering can, and sprayed it on her plants in the early morning while the dew was still on the leaves. She has not purchased a fertilizer product since. Her tomatoes are still producing in October when her neighbors pulled theirs in August. Her neighbors started asking what she was spraying. She told them it was weeds in a bucket. They did not believe her. Her harvest did not care. Run a control. Plant 2 identical beds. Apply the ferment to one. Leave the other untreated. Photograph both every week. Weigh the harvests at the end of the season. The numbers will tell you what $200 billion in marketing cannot. The soil knows what it needs. It has known for longer than the fertilizer aisle has existed. The only question is whether you will give it back what was taken. We have another video on the 6 biblical soil methods that kept land productive for 3,000 years. Click on it and we will see you there.